Mystra is dead, and now Midnight and Adon, who saved the Dales and the evil god Bane in the Battle of Shadowdale, have been sentenced to death for the murder of Elminster. But chaos has taken hold of nature and magic, since the gods were exiled from the plains, and the heroes are the only ones who know the location of the first tablet of fate, which can save the realms from the fallen gods. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I am your host, Liam, aka Himvar. Today I'll be doing a spoiler for your review of Scott Ciencin's Tantras. Tantras is a 1989 novel by Scott Ciencin, and the second in the Avatar series, the sequel to the book Shadowdale, which I have previously reviewed, and there will be some spoilers for that, so if you have not read the book or watched that review, I would go and watch that now. Like the first book as well, it is originally titled under the pen name of Richard Allinson, but is again by Scott Ciencin, and if you have the reprints, it will say his actual name on them. So our heroes discovered one of the tablets of fate as stolen by Bane, and Merkel is in the city of Tantras, which is in the region known as the Vast. To get there, though, they need to be found innocent, as they are accused of the murder of Elminster during the Battle of Shadowdale, which is actually sometimes called the Second Battle of Shadowdale, since there was another the year before. But at the start of the story, it is actually only Midnight and Adon who are charged with Elminster's murder, as they were with him when he disappeared. It's up to Cyric to get them out of the execution, since Kelemvor is sort of crippled by his curse. Adon is rather despondent. His faith is failing ever since his wound that he got to his face in the previous book. Cyric is getting more cynical, as he is convinced the people of Shadowdale are no different than those of Zental Keep, while Midnight is still hopeful to complete their quest. Kelemvor tries to distance themselves from his companions at the start of this book, though, which was an odd decision. I feel like this story really evolves the characters in some interesting ways that actually were quite better, I feel like, than their linear path they had in the first book. Of the other new characters, I would say Varden was definitely my favorite. He had a very interesting arc, and he was kind of a fun character because you don't really know if you should trust him at first, and you just have to kind of go from there. I felt like Quillian was also a pretty decent character, but doesn't actually stick around for all that much of the story. Now, the party goes from Shadowdale to Scardale to Tantras, and the latter two were places I hadn't experienced before, either in playing in the Forgotten Realms or reading in the Forgotten Realms. So they were fresh with interesting politics for both of these locations. Scardale is on the border of the Dale lands, and so there is some intrigue with the nearby Dales and Symbia and other powers. So basically it's a hotspot with a bunch of factions trying to get a hold of it. It's also peopled with a grand array of fun characters, Varden being one of them, but there are several others as well. Now Tantras, on the other hand, is a very large city, and it has a large cult to the god Torm, who is the god of duty, who has actually resided in the city since the day of arrival, just like Tymora was in Arabel, if you remember, and just like Bane is, of course, up in Zental Keep. So while the story kind of follows a linear path, as you would expect, it's also a lot more interesting. We see a lot more interesting places, we see a lot more interesting people in those places, and specifically Kelemvor and Cyric's arcs switch things up and were just a little bit unexpected, which was very enjoyable. We get a lot more character development in the story, with the exception of Midnight. Well, she just has some character development. I really like the role she played at the end of the story, but she hasn't changed that much as far as her character goes. And this may be Ciencin having a harder time writing women, but I'm honestly not really sure, as this is only the second book I've read by him. The story ends with a big battle again, this one more explosive, and our heroes have a different role to play in it. And the separation of the party has come to a place where it wasn't precisely even heading at the beginning of this story. And so overall, it's fun. I would say, as far as especially the party members go, I wouldn't read the back of the book, at least on the old version, which I have, the original publication. The second paragraph in that kind of spoils it a little bit, so I would just be wary of that. But overall, I really enjoyed this, and I'm actually really itching to get to Waterdeep, which I will start here in a couple days, actually. So, but I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know if you have read Shadowdale. I actually read Tantras again with Tasky from Les Reveries de Tasky, and that is who I'm going to be reading Waterdeep with as well. And then books 4 and 5 as well, whenever I get to those. So, anyways, thanks for watching. It's been Liam with Liam's Lyceum. I'll catch you next time.